I haven't used credit cards in maybe 10, 11 years or so. And I don't plan on using credit cards ever again. Guys, do you use credit cards on a regular basis? Credit cards to pay for your regular, everyday expenses, your monthly expenses? Do you pay your bills with credit cards? Now, for me, I stopped using credit cards years ago. Now, thankfully for me, I didn't ever use credit cards that much anyway. But I stopped using credit cards, and I want to tell you on this video why I stopped using credit cards and why you need to be careful about credit cards. Now, I just read a story maybe, I guess 3 or 4 days ago that talked about the fact that credit card usage is at an all-time high here in America, and that the credit card balances have reached over $6,000 as an average for the first time in America. So credit cards can be pretty interesting, and I want to have this conversation with you guys, not to judge anybody if you do use credit cards, or to tell you that the way I do it is the best way to do it. It's about what works for you, because personal finance is personal. So let me go back to the very beginning of how my story started with credit cards. So I got my first credit card, guys, back in, I think, 1987. I got a credit card. It was a Montgomery Ward's credit card, right? A store credit card. And so for those of you that don't remember, Montgomery Ward's was like a Kohl's is today, right? A store that sold clothing, and they also sold, the household wares and all this kind of stuff. So I got a Montgomery Ward's card back in 1987. I bought Christmas gifts for a few people. The limit was about $500 on it. So I went ahead and, bought some things for people, things I wouldn't normally buy, but I went ahead and bought some stuff for people. And that thing stayed on my credit for about 10 years or so, because I couldn't pay off the $500. I probably could, but I didn't. I made a bad decision and kept it on my credit for many, many years. So that was my first experience with a credit card. Now, fast forward to about 2006, 2007, I owned rental property at that time, and I needed some extra cash to do some repairs around some of my properties. So I went ahead and got a credit card, and I used that credit card for about 4 or 5 years. I think the biggest balance I had on it might have been $3,500 or something. But I paid it monthly. But ultimately, around 2011, 2012, I said, hey, I'm going to pay this thing off, and I'm done using credit cards. Because I had been listening to a lot of folks, Crown Ministries, Dave Ramsey stuff. So I got rid of the credit card. Since then, I haven't looked back. Haven't needed the credit card. Haven't wanted to use the credit card at all since then. That's my story with credit cards. I never used credit cards a whole lot, but I did have them, or at least I had one after I had that Montgomery Ward's card. But the deal with credit cards is this, guys. The reason I don't like or use credit cards on a regular basis, or keep credit cards, and why did I cut them up, is because of temptation. Temptation with credit cards. I didn't want the temptation to be hanging around me that I might use this credit card at any given moment to buy lunch, or to just, buy some clothing or something, to do something random with that I didn't want to do. I look at credit cards as loans. Credit cards are loans, and I don't like loans, and I don't want loans on anything that's going down in value. So most of the stuff you'd buy with a credit card is going down in value. And so I said, no more credit cards for me, cut them up, haven't used them since, don't need them at all. I do have a debit card that I use. It's a bank card, right, that ties directly into a checking account. But listen, some people will say, well, that's not smart to do. You should always have a credit card instead of a debit card for fraud purposes, etc. That's fine if that's what you want to do. Again, personal finance is personal. But for me, I just don't want the temptation of having that short-term loan that I can get at any given moment for any given thing. If I need a pair of socks, if I need to go eat some dinner or something somewhere, right? Or I want to go eat some dinner, I want to go to the grocery store. I don't want to pull out that credit card, because in my mind, it's a loan. The other thing is the interest rates, right? If you look at interest rates on credit card loans, interest rates right now have just toppled or went over the 20% mark. See, credit cards are short-term loans. All short-term loans are tied to the Fed funds rate. So when the Federal Reserve increases the Fed funds rate, your short-term loans, like credit card loans, go up as well. The interest that you pay goes up. So the money that it costs to put that gas in your vehicle, or to buy that shirt, or to go out to dinner with that credit card, it increases. It costs you more money to borrow that money for the short term because the Fed funds rate increase. When the Fed funds rate increases, it increases the interest rate you pay on credit cards. So I said to myself, that's something to consider as well. Right now, at over 20% interest for a credit card, that's a lot of money. That's a lot to pay to borrow the money to use for a credit card. And so some people would say, hey, what about the points? I use mine for the points. And hey, I get a lot of points. I can fly here. I can go to this hotel, whatever it may be. Me personally, guys, I would rather not have the temptation around me to use the credit card and forego any points. Think about this also, guys. Sometimes you use your credit card, or people use their credit card to buy things they wouldn't normally buy just to get the points. Now, don't get me wrong. Points are fine. Points are good. They're a nice little incentive. But credit card companies aren't losing. Credit card companies don't just offer you points just so they lose money. They make money on offering you points. When it all shakes down. Guys, if you get value from this video, please smash the like button below. And please consider subscribing to this channel if you're not already a subscriber. And also, don't forget to share this video with your friends and your family. For me, it's just a matter of discipline as well, guys. Just having the discipline to say no. Studies also show that when you swipe a credit card, you use more money. You spend more money when you actually swipe a card, because you don't feel it as much as when you actually use cash, right? When you swipe a card, it doesn't connect in your dendrites in your brain the same way that if you actually pulled out your wallet or your purse and you paid with cash. For some reason, cash seems to hurt us more internally somehow. We don't spend as much when we actually spend cash. I don't want to really play that game necessarily. I know a lot of people do. A ton of people do. A lot of people pay all of their bills with their credit card. And I talk to a lot of people about credit cards, and most people I talk to, this is literally no joke, most people I talk to about credit cards, you know what they tell me? They say, no big deal. I pay off the balance every single month with no problem. I pay it off before the interest is due. Now, if that was true and everybody was doing that, then the average credit card balance wouldn't be over $6,000. Right? Most people aren't doing that, but everybody says they do that. But most people are carrying a balance over from month to month on their credit card. Now, again, if that's you and that's what you do, no heat, no judgment, right? I'm not going to say that's bad. I'm not going to say it's horrible that you use a credit card. That's not really what I'm going to do. Some people are disciplined enough to actually use a credit card and pay it off every single month, pay it off before the interest is due and all that good stuff, right? Some folks can do that, and that's okay. I'm not totally against that. But for me, I can only speak for me. For me, just not a good practice for me, because you may end up with $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 balance that you really don't want. And you don't want to have that hassle of having to pay interest for things that you bought with a credit card that are going down in value. One of the wealth building tools, guys, that's really helped me over the years is to make sure I stay away from buying things that are going down in value, right? And making sure that I'm looking at my net worth at least a couple of times a year and figuring out how am I lowering my liabilities and how am I increasing my assets. And when I do that, guys, when I put that litmus test out there for myself every single, at least a couple of times a year when I check my net worth, I don't want to have a credit card balance sitting on the liability side of my equation. Being debt-free, everything except for the house and my rental properties, I don't want to go back and add things to the liability side, even if it's just $2,000 or $3,000 or $10,000 for a credit card. I don't want to add things back onto the liability side of my equation. So guys, that's my take on credit cards. That's my feeling on credit cards. And that's really why those reasons are the reasons I don't use credit cards. And I haven't used credit cards in quite a while. I haven't used credit cards in maybe, like I said, about 10, 11 years or so. And I don't plan on using credit cards ever again. Now, some of you may be saying, well, I need to use a credit card to build up my credit, to make sure my credit is right for when I want to go buy a house at some point. Now, if that's what you want to do and you want to take a small credit card and only get gas on it or something for your car just to have a little bit of credit so that you can show that you can pay that back, That's fine. Totally up to you. Again, your choice, right? That's my take on it, guys. Just be careful out there. I also read that the number of delinquencies for credit cards is at an all-time high, meaning people that are late with their credit card payments, it's at an all-time high right now as well. So people, guys, frankly, people are using credit cards to fund their life more and more. They're using credit cards to actually pay for their lifestyle, to pay all of their bills on. And so what that is, guys, is that's just another level of this whole loan game. These loans that people take out to live. People are funding life on a credit card. That's dangerous, guys. If you're a person that doesn't like to have debt and you don't want to have loans, especially on things going down in value, that's dangerous, because it means that people are kind of throwing caution to the wind when it comes to credit cards. And that's never a good thing. So I just want to share that information with you guys on my take on credit cards and say, hey, you need to make your own decision. Do they work for you, or are they not working for you? If you got anything at all out of this quick video, guys, smash that like button for me. Share this video with somebody who you think could use this information, or at least have the dialogue with somebody about credit card usage, because it makes a difference on your financial journey to financial freedom. Hey, the best person who's going to take care of the old you is that young you. Until the next video, peace.